with less than a minute till halftime.
Arnie, please put your phone down. You're missing your own kid's football game.
I know, hun, but a branch is blowing in front of the DIY video camera I set up, and I keep getting annoying alerts.
The biggest fumble was not getting a local security pro to install Alarm.com.
Alarm.com? How would that help?
The Bensons have it. Their cameras filter out false alerts, but also detect trespassers and scare them away before they even get close to the house.
How?
Flashing lights, whistles. The camera even gives verbal warnings like, "Hey, you in the black jacket, in the driveway. This is private property. Leave now."
Wow.
Best of all, the Benson's Alarm.com system is professionally monitored, so they don't have to call for help in an emergency.
Huh. I really could put my phone away.
Yes!
Touchdown!
Let's get an Alarm.com system before the team goes to states.
Alarm.com, your home field advantage. Visit Alarm.com to find an authorized service provider.
On this episode of Bantha Milk Podcast, we find out what Nick's hiding behind his back. Nick, show me your hands. No, the other one. Oh, no, both of them at the same time. Intro music.
Feels no good to be dead. Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
Yeah, I didn't get to do my normal boogieing there. I was getting a piece of something out of my whiskey.
Oh, so sorry.
It's okay. You know what? When I'm drinking whiskey and I see something in there, I often get kind of freaked out about it. And then I go, well, the alcohol, I'm sure, has sterilized it by this point.
I'm sure it has.
So that's
I guarantee it has done that.
But anyway.
And you know why? Because you said what you said.
I did say that. I said the thing that I said, and that is your beer.
That is right. Because I said what I said. While you're drinking your margarita, no, your whiskey.
Yeah, different.
I'm drinking, I said what I said, a key lime margarita sour.
Yeah, you've got the margarita.
I've got the margarita.
Yeah, so what's the brewery on that?
Evil Genius.
Evil Genius Brewery.
They're from New Jersey. Yeah.
Right?
I got a 12 pack or something of like different varieties. So so I got that. I was like, oh, did I not hit record on Audacity? But I did.
We're going. We're live.
We're going. We'll do it live.
Yeah, and I'm just, we haven't had Bantha Milk for a couple of episodes now.
Yes.
I'm just going back because I got a bottle of bourbon for my birthday.
A bottle
for
of scotch and a bottle of bourbon.
Yeah. So happy Christmas and Hanukkah and all the
and
other
Life Day and all that other good
things
stuff.
to those who celebrate. Hope you have a most joyous holiday season.
Most joyous.
Yeah. But we're back. Rob's beard is here again, and Rob, you're rocking the beanie today.
I got the beanie on today because we just went out. I'm going to give a free plug because this place is amazing. The Original Banana Co., which is actually in stumbling distance from Nick's house. So if you go there, you can just start knocking on doors within a 1.5 mile radius, and you'll eventually find him.
You're very non-specifically doxing me right now. Right. It's a very vague doxing. That's right. But yeah, what is it?
The Original Banana Company? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So for those of you that don't know, I don't know if there's other stores like this in the galaxy, but if there aren't, you need to get on this because it's amazing. They have frozen bananas that they dip in whatever, chocolate, white chocolate, whatever, then all kinds of other toppings and stuff on top of it. They also now have a hookup with a cheesecake company, Nearby Cheesecake Company.
Oh, boy.
And they do it the same thing. They dip a slice of cheesecake in chocolate.
Well, now you just ruined everything for me.
I
didn't know that about. I like bananas, whatever, but cheesecake.
Right, frozen banana, and they're frozen bananas. So they're not like frozen where you can't bite into them, but they're definitely nice and cold, super like I don't know what a good temperature is, but like they're like 33 degrees, not colder than that, where it's like so cold you can't bite into them. But they're definitely when you bite into them, you know that they're cold.
Yep.
But they also have slices of cheesecake, and I had the gingerbread one today. Oh. It was supposed to be white chocolate, but I like milk chocolate, so I got it dipped in milk chocolate, and then completely covered in gingerbread cookie dust.
Sure.
and then marshmallow and a gingerbread cookie on top of it.
That sounds outstanding.
And let me tell you, you cannot finish a whole slice.
Okay, sounds like a challenge.
Of it, and believe me, I've had multiple different flavors of their cheesecake covered in whatevers.
Sure.
And I can eat.
Sure.
Look. Take me to a all-you-can-eat crab leg buffet, and I will get my money's worth. I can guarantee you.
All right.
10 trips to the crab legs is not enough for me. When we were in Myrtle Beach, we went to Captain
Crunch.
Mikey's Crunch, Picard,
okay.
whatever it is, something or other. And my kids were like, "Can we please leave?" And I'm like, "But they're still crab legs. They're still bringing out crab legs.
They just keep bringing them out.
I have to eat them. They're going to go bad if I don't." But yeah, and I cannot finish a whole slice of this because A, the cheesecake is really good. B, there's so much sugar on it that like while you want to finish, your sugar alcohol, your sugar levels are just going through the roof, and you're just like can't do it. But it's good because then you have the other half of it for the next day, so it's amazing. So the original Banana Company in New Jersey, check it out. It's amazing. We were just there.
There's always money in the banana stand.
There is always money in the banana stand.
That's what they say. Right?
Let's bring it back around to Arrested Development. If you can't,
most things can.
Yes.
Most things can be brought back around. I feel like to Arrested Development. That's a.
I love it.
Lesser and lesser referenced show these days. So.
And it's a shame because it's an amazing show.
It really is.
It's such a good show. But yeah, so that's why I had to put the beanie on was because we went out. So yes, we are here
to talk about Star Wars.
To talk about Star Wars, not talk about things I like to eat.
It is Bantha Milk podcast, don't you know?
Don't you know?
Yeah, we are, before we get into it, we are Bantha Milk podcast, a part of the Ears Uposphere.
Ears Uposphere.
Right. Rob is preparing all his Christmas goodies for our enjoyment right now.
Yep.
Again, we've got the Who are they? I'm bad at this.
Ears Up.
Puny Pod.
Puny Pod. Scraping the Vault. The Supreme Taco Resort.
Yummy. Delicious.
Yes.
Greek yogurt.
And also Buena Vista Boys.
Buena Vista Boys.
Where they do the same thing that Screen Crush does, but
better.
Different. Not better.
I don't know.
Not better.
I don't know. I want to pit them against each other.
Yeah, let's do it against them. It's.
I want to start a feud within our
Ears
little,
Uposphere.
Yeah.
We can do that. All right. So I did get some things. I got these little trivia cards, the Star Wars Mandalorian trivia quiz.
It is always great around the holidays because I know I'll always get some new strange Star Wars related item.
Yes.
Right. So you got this for Christmas?
I got this for Christmas. This is there's on each card there's 1 point questions and 2 point questions.
Ooh.
The 1 point questions are extremely difficult. What is the
these are
child's
specifically Mandalorian?
This is specifically Mandalorian. What is the child's real name?
Norman.
Norman is not on here. It should be D. Norman should be the proper answer.
That's messed up. So we got who do we call at Lucasfilm?
I don't know. I give you three choices: Grog, Gore, or Grogu, or Norman.
Gore? I'm gonna say it's Grogu because
Grogu.
Norman isn't there. Yeah.
Norman is not there, so we'll have to go with Grogu instead. Now this is the 2 point question,
Okay,
so I'm guessing this is a little bit harder.
Here we go.
What did the Jawas tell the Mandalorian that he should like? That he sounds like. Sorry, that he sounds like.
Oh, that is tough.
What
it
does
did
it say
sound
that
like
he
you
sounds
were
like?
setting up a joke just then. What did the Jawas say to the Mandalorian?
What did one Jawa say to another Jawa?
So it says, what did the Jawa say to the Mandalorian sounded like?
Yes, say the Mandalorian that. What do the Jawas tell the Mandalorian that he sounds like?
I don't know.
Okay, you have three choices.
Okay.
A Jawa, B, a Gungan, or C, a Wookiee.
I'm going to say a Wookiee.
You are correct.
Wow, that was a really solid Wookiee impression, by the way.
By the way, if you didn't do it yet, do it now. Change all of your food apps, your name and all your food apps to Chewbacca.
Okay.
They really love it when you go through the drive-thru and say, mobile order for Chewbacca, please.
See, I get bored in life and I do things for sillies. And I was in the car going through a drive-thru. I think it was at Tim Hortons, I forget. But my wife is sitting over here and like the urge just hit me to like. And so they said, "What's the name on the order?" And instead of saying Nick, I'm trying to remember. It was I think it was
Bruce Wayne.
No, it was something silly like I don't remember Fuquan or Day. I don't know. I don't remember. It was. Oh no! You know what it was? Tito. It was Tito because I was thinking specifically about Tito Jackson. So I said Tito, and it wasn't just like a Tito, and that was it because obviously you hear the word Tito, and they
Right.
What was that?
Say it again.
I said Tito, and I just see my
Tito.
wife look at me from the side, and I just drive. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know.
I don't know. I'm having some fun.
So
I'm bored.
anyway,
Yep. All right. So do that. Either Tito or Chewbacca.
That's
I
right.
was Batman, but somebody else was Batman also, so I had to change it.
Bummer.
How many lightsabers? This is a 1 point question. How many lightsabers does Ahsoka Tano wield?
Four
Four.
at once,
Yes.
plus the fifth one.
That is the correct answer. 4 or half that. 2.
Right, whichever one.
Whichever one. And then here's a 2 point question. What large creatures burst from under the ice? Oh, that's a good one. To attack the Razor Crest.
Those are those spider guys, aren't they? That was the spider episode, wasn't it?
Yes. I was thinking of when they landed in the first episode. They landed on the ice, and the guy said, "Watch out."
Oh, that was on ice, wasn't it?
Yeah. Burst from under the ice to attack the Razor Crest.
Oh, that might be it. So what are the options?
The options are Eopes, which is
No.
not it. Ravenex. I think it was Ravenex because I
Okay.
remember the guy, the taxi cab driver said, "Watch out
Right.
for the Ravenex," because C is crate dragons,
Yeah, and it wasn't
it's
that.
not crate dragons, and
Yeah,
it's not
so you
Eopes,
were right, yeah.
so it's got to be the Ravenex,
Yeah.
which I wouldn't have guessed unless you said all 3 words, but
Sure.
now I do remember that. All right, last one here. The child, 1 point. Which large mammal do Tusken Raiders ride through the desert?
Right, the bantha.
Ride the bantha. Very good. And then 2 point question. What are the colorings of an incinerator stormtrooper?
Black and red, I think.
So you have gold with black circles, white with red stripes,
Oh, it's that one for
or
sure.
all white.
It's white with red stripes.
White with red stripes.
Yeah.
Of course,
I knew red was involved because fire.
Yes,
Fire's
fire.
red.
I'm going to say we are correct with B. It's written in white on a gray background and really hard to tell. You see if you look at that. I'm
got your
pretty
readers
sure.
on there.
I
Hold
have
on.
my readers on, and I still can't tell. There's the card.
Gambit over here. All right, 2 point. I see. B, white with red stripes. Yep.
Okay, good. You could read that? Perfect.
could, yes.
All right. And then I also got this book, Weird But True, from National Geographic, so it's got to be legitimate.
Sure.
300 epic facts from Star Wars: A Galaxy Far, Far Away. So I'll just read you one of these.
Read me some facts.
While
Rob.
hundreds of Wookiees appear in scenes of Revenge of the Sith, they each wore one of only 8 Wookiee suits.
I see. So there were 8 people, and did they digitally CGI
Either
them?
digitally CGI'd them or just
or
kept
else there
doing
was
it
just
over and
8
over again.
different suits
Yeah.
that like they just had like, all right,
So
30
you ran,
of this suit, 30 of that
No,
suit.
I think only 8 total suits. So the 8 of you just run a giant circle around the camera. Run in front, and now go again, and now go again, and we'll just splice it all together.
Yeah, that makes sense. Considering the CGI
Also,
happiness.
in Pirates of the Caribbean, it's a ride at Walt
Pirates
Disney
of
World.
the Caribbean?
Yes, it's a ride at Walt Disney World.
Is that
Disneyland.
literally the name of it?
Well, there's only one Caribbean, but
Okay.
it depends on how you
But
say it.
Sure. I just, you're a Disney guy, so I
Yes.
didn't know if I
Dan-
didn't know about this fun
Dan,
secret.
our good friend from Scraping the Vault and the Supreme Resort, calls it Pirates of the Caribbean. It's something similar to that. There's like only 8 different heads or something like that in the ride.
Okay.
But there's, I don't know the exact numbers. Say there's 150 characters in the ride, but there's only like 8 different heads. Or some of the heads are repeated
Right.
multiple times or something like that.
Sure.
I forget the exact numbers. I'm not that much of a Disney nerd to know all that. But You can ask Jimmy or Eric or Dan over at the Supreme Resort. They should know this.
They should.
They should. Darth Maul's cloak was inspired by one a Tibetan monk wore in a 1940 photograph.
Huh.
There you go.
It's a black cloak.
A black cloak, yeah.
I guess they need
Maybe the big hood. I don't
Maybe.
know. Maybe I don't know. Or it's really wrinkled and pleated.
Sure.
Maybe because it's very
Pleats.
pleated. I don't know.
Maybe.
The first model for the escape pod in the New Hope was 2 paint buckets attached to each other.
Huh.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I always find it interesting when it's like, I think Hollywood, all right, they're going to like make a thing.
Right.
But apparently a lot of Hollywood is just, hey, this ice cream maker looks like it could be space looking.
Carry this around.
It's like,
And now we have the running of the wheels.
Yep. It is interesting. I don't know if that's all of Star Wars or all of Hollywood, or if just Star Wars likes to do that.
Even like musicals, like my son loves going to musicals. I think they're even more like this piece. I found this at a junkyard. We're going to use this piece,
right?
Even more so than Hollywood does.
Sure.
Last one. Poe Dameron was going to die in The Force Awakens, but the actor who played him, Oscar Isaac, convinced producers to keep the character alive.
That's a man who wanted another paycheck right there.
He did. He said, I just bought a big ass house.
Yeah, and it's got payments.
It's got payments.
I didn't realize how high the interest rates were going to get post COVID, and
I need
with the Fed looking where in the situation that it is. Jerome Powell as the acting head of the Fed. I just don't think you can bring these rates down. So I really, Anyway, he just needed more.
This has been Nick Talks Economics.
Sometimes I just commit to the bit.
You did.
Like, all right, I gotta go.
I was impressed.
Keep going.
I was letting you go. I wanted to see how far you could go.
As soon as
I
brought out Jerome Powell's name, I'm like, all right.
You're like, yes, I'm going. I made it.
Anyway, so I don't know whether he would look back on that decision fondly or not at this point, considering,
I don't know how much hate he personally got.
Sure. They didn't diss his character as much.
I think of all the main characters, his got dissed the least.
Sure.
So he's like, hey.
He got paid.
Yeah, you guys are getting made fun of all the time. People like me, so I don't care.
Yep.
So yeah. All right. That's it for my Christmas presents. Oh, and over my shoulder over here, I do have my dog Flippy is wearing a Obi-Wan Kenobi costume. So it's kind of hard to see. I'll let you see it
It's
there.
actually beautiful.
Oh,
it really is.
It is wonderful. All of those are Star Wars themed Christmas presents that I got. So I wanted to share them with the audience. When we come back from this commercial break, we are going to talk all about the Skeleton Crew episode 5. Such a good episode. We'll be right back.
I think I just heard your stomach on mic.
It was more like it was a throat bubble or something like that. Yeah.
And we're back. We're back. Hey, so we're here to talk about Skeleton Crew episode 5.
Cinco
de Skeleton Crew.
Cinco de Skeleton Crew.
It was called. Remind me again. You got a lot to learn
being a
about,
pirate. You got a lot to learn about
being
a pirate.
Right,
yes.
Yeah. And so me and Rob do try not to talk too much about these things until we step foot in here. So I have not told Rob how I feel about this episode.
No, tell me how you feel, Nick.
It's my favorite so far.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I thought it was great. It was definitely my favorite episode of the season, and I thought it was a great episode.
I agree. I thought it was a phenomenal episode.
First of all, the runtime was long.
Yes,
right?
It was a 47-minute show, which means 39 minutes of runtime.
Yeah, that's an appropriate amount.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take that, right? But it had
because honestly, 47 minutes. If you're watching it with commercials, it's an hour show.
Yeah,
so that's perfect. Yeah. That's what you want. That's what we want. Disney Plus, Bob Iger. What's her name? Kathy Kennedy. Listen, this is what we want. 47 minutes with credits. Give us a nice, long 39-minute episode. We're very happy. You heard it here.
Actually, I think after the amount of episodes we've put out and the amount of times we brought this up, I think it's safe to say that we probably had a large hand.
Oh, 100%
in
we
the
did.
extension of
yeah.
So, good for you, Rob, and good for me.
They listen to us all the time.
Anyway, I thought it was like so that it was in parts really freaking funny.
Yes.
The action was really interesting. And again with this, it's not bogged down by expectations of, this character has got to do that or we're going to meet this character. It's all new, so it's like, I don't know. I didn't feel like, I remember last time I thought the pacing was weird. I didn't love that time with like the little child army. I never had any of those moments where I was bored.
No, not in this episode at all.
Interesting going on. So yeah, we can start at the beginning.
Well, we can start at the beginning.
Thoughts.
Yes, I agree. I really enjoyed this episode. This was very much a Goonies episode. And once again, there was another opportunity for them to say, "You'll shoot your eye out, kid."
And they dropped
the ball again. Come on. I really want you to do this. There was only one part that I was like, ugh, and it was very minimal, and I think it was just the writers not necessarily understanding kids of this age.
Okay.
And when we get there, I will elaborate on it a little bit. But yeah, I was a little disappointed. Not the very first scene, but the first scene after the credits. Everybody's already on the ship.
Yeah,
so,
we didn't get our jump to light speed.
No, we didn't get to see what Jod did to the people outside of the ship either.
Yep.
Or Jod. Yeah, Jod. Yeah.
Yeah, you had it.
Because I really wanted to see if they were going to see all these bodies, and we didn't see that. So we'll never know. Apparently, he could have used. We haven't seen him use a mind trick on anybody yet.
No, but I think it's safe to assume, given his proclivity for, not doing great stuff, it's probably something he had taught himself. If he's, there's lots of theories about, who he is and how much training he's had and whether he's had training.
Right.
But I would be willing to bet that if he's got enough, kind of use over the Force as he does, it's not like he's accidentally using it. He knows he's got some use over it. To me, it seems like maybe he was a Padawan who survived Order 66, and we can kind of talk about a little bit about that later as we come to some of these moments. But it seems to me like something he would be able to teach himself and figure out, and he would use, considering the kind of guy he is.
Yeah, considering that he's a pirate and, as we find out, a bounty hunter, but I would think most pirates are bounty hunters also.
Probably.
Like, they seem to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So that wasn't like a big reveal. I was reading some Facebook posts and people were like, "Oh, we found out not only was he a pirate, but he was a bounty hunter." And I'm like, yeah, kind of. I think they would all be. But so whatever. So we'll get into all that. But the opening scene, the adults are trying to hack the system.
Yes. And doing a terrible job at it.
Yes.
Literally, as he's like sitting there sweating bullets while that little droid is walking over, I'm thinking like, why don't you just put something on top of it, man?
Yeah.
Or like, put it in your pants.
Kick it.
Like,
yeah. So
in the waist
so
of your
what we're
pants,
talking about, Wynn's dad and what's the elephant? Neil's mom. Neil's mom comes into the office and he's like, "What are you doing here?" Very 1984-ish.
Yep.
Everybody's working at their own little cubicles.
And
There's
I love
no
how
talking.
in space, cubicles are clear.
They are clear.
They've got
Yeah.
glass pane.
Yeah. There's no talking. Everybody's doing their job. There's robots standing around watching them. So the school security robots are also patrolling the adults at the same time, giving us more of this 1984.
Big
also,
brother,
this like big brother that's like scary. There's something sinister going on this planet. At some point, something turned and whatever. So she's like, "We have to do this. Just plug this in, and we'll get the information." And he's like, "All right, go." And everybody's whispering, and he sits down and plugs it in, and his computer surges.
Yes.
So the giant one-eyed robots come over and says, "Please get away from your computer system." And he puts both his hands behind his back like he's a 4-year-old.
Yep.
I think Vanjie has done this to you with her Cheerios.
I'm sure.
Yeah. No, there's nothing.
Yeah.
I don't have them.
No.
And
What
then
are you talking about?
show me your hand. Here you go. Okay, now show me your other hand. At some point, he could have easily tucked it into his pants when he had both his hands behind his back. Or the switch between hands, it took him 10 seconds to switch
Yeah,
like,
this guy.
come on, dude,
This
you're
guy is not smooth.
You're not smooth at all. You're not JB Smooth.
But luckily, apparently, like his boss is Fern's mom.
Fern's mom, yeah.
And she tells the robot. Now, there's a lot of telling droids they forgot stuff. Talking about Jedi mind tricks.
Yeah.
Man, like there's a whole lot of telling droids you didn't see that, and they're just like, all right. And then she's like, shut off. All right, see ya.
Yeah, she was like, wipe this from your memory.
And
okay.
turn off.
And then turn yourself off.
And then they have this nice little conversation together about,
right.
You're not acting fast enough. Our kids.
Yeah, she's
yada,
like,
yada.
we'll go to the
supervisor.
We'll take care of it. The supervisor's not going to do anything. You're not.
And there are theories about who the supervisor is, too.
Yes, there are. There's lots of different. You want to go over robots, dead people? What do you got?
So the big theory I saw was that the pirate that we learn about later, what's his name? He's like essentially Blackbeard.
Taco Renaud.
Taco Renaud.
Taco Renaud, yes.
Something like that. The theory is that maybe he crash landed on AT-ATN. He killed his crew. He made the robot think that he died. And then he became the supervisor. The thought about that, it's obviously too early to tell. This is like a fledgling little thought. But, I mean, whenever there's a hologram that very clearly they don't want you to see the face.
Yes.
The thought is, all right, who this person is going to be a reveal.
Right.
So my thought is we're going to meet the supervisor at some point, and then it's going to be revealed, oh, gosh, it's One-Eyed Willie. He's here,
What did he say his was a concubine?
Concubine, yes. That was also very funny. What's a concubine?
Yes,
don't worry about
a concubine,
Don't
a
worry
woman
about
who
it.
lives with a man she is not married to, and in some societies has a lower social rank than his wife. Other
His
things,
side piece.
his
Yeah,
side
as
piece,
they would say today.
So interesting that your theory that you heard that the pirate is the supervisor, because I also Ryan Airy thinks that the pirate is Smee, SM33.
All right, that's
and
interesting.
After
I don't hate that.
I don't hate that. And after he said it, I rewatched it. Now we're jumping all the way to the end here. In the hologram that you don't see his face, when they have a wide shot of the hologram, his elbow looks like the gear that 33 has.
Okay.
When you get closer, you can't really see it because it's covered in the pirate's jacket and things like that. And he also says if you look at the giant mask that's in the middle, the gold mask, the middle section kind of looks also like 33's face a little bit. So
all right, I like that.
Now that I saw those two things, I'm kind of like, oh, maybe this is true.
That would be interesting, especially considering the amount of like disrespect droids have been tossed.
Yeah.
So for him to wind up being, that'd be interesting.
He thinks that which is where maybe your pirate captain could be over there. He thinks that the pirate captain made 33 the captain of the ship. That way you don't have people trying to challenge him to become the captain.
Okay.
Because none of them can take down this robot. This robot can kill everybody. So why challenge you if I know you're just going to kill me right away?
Right.
So, and then part of it was that he was programmed then to also forget that he was the captain. So that would be interesting if when they're flying to or they get on the planet, he remembers that he's the captain, thereby Jude is not the captain. So then he can release the kids from their prison, whatever, because at the very end he says put them in prison.
Right.
Obviously, everybody's going to go to AT-ATN somehow. Everybody's going to get to AT-ATN somehow. So it'll be interesting to see if he remembers that he is the captain, if that is the case.
Okay. I like that. I don't know that I'm sold on it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what the payoff to that is. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I don't know where that leads us in the end. You know what I mean? Like with it being the supervisor, we could kind of like see where this. I just don't see where but I do like that. I had not thought about that. And I like the idea of the droid being the captain too. So, and he just the way he's been around the whole time, and
Right.
like they've been so leaning into droid memory manipulation and stuff.
Yes,
so.
yes,
I
and
do like that.
and like you said, droids being second class citizens.
Right.
So if now suddenly he's the first class, and
Right.
we're all the second class,
And they've also made a big point out of the fact, like you can't fight this guy.
right,
Like he's downright terrifying in the last scene of the previous episode where he's like limb from
Yes,
like his voice modulates. It's
yeah,
horrifying.
it's very horrifying.
So,
He's
like-
ready to kill all 4 of the kids
yeah, so I mean,
without
it's-
even thinking about it. So
that's
it'll
an
be
interesting
interesting.
theory. I like that.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait till next week to find out.
I guess so.
So then the kids, then we after the dad gets caught and the mom and whatever, then the kids have 33 tied down with ropes.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness, and everybody they're fighting over who's going to turn them back on, and it was very interesting. Jod fighting with the girl. No, you're scared. No, you're scared. And then she's like, I'm not scared. What's the girl's name? It's like 2 letters.
KB.
Yeah, KB, untie him or turn him on.
Yep.
And she's like, oh. So then he wakes up and he talks about Tac Renard and the big pirate that once owned it's not the Dark
The Dread
Cinder.
Pirate Roberts.
Yes. The Onyx Cinder.
Onyx Cinder, yes.
And then that's when
The
you
Black
see
Pearl.
the Black Pearl. And that's when you see Jod is starting to like put things together. And
Yeah.
you can already see he's now thinking of his exit strategy to get away from the kids. Once he gets the information, he's putting it all together now. Wow, this is the best ship ever and blah, blah, blah. He gives you a nice, good backstory on the Black Pearl and how it was fortified and running rampant at the time, and he was the best pirate of all time. And while all that's going on, Wim runs off crying.
Yes.
And this is a little piece of Jod having the most sympathy that he can.
Yep. Yeah, I just love at the beginning where he's like, oh, like he's almost like disgusted about. Oh, I gotta
Okay, fine.
I gotta talk to a kid.
I gotta go
who's
talk to the kid.
crying.
He's like, you'll be fine. And he goes, I'm never going to see my mom and dad again. When we get back,
yeah.
you will.
Yeah, but my mom's dead.
And he's like walking away. He's like, oh,
You see his inside go, I have to turn around.
I have to turn
I have
around.
to talk to this freaking kid.
Okay.
But this is another moment where it's interesting that that's what makes him turn around is that his mom is dead.
Yes.
Because, like, if he's a Padawan who survived Order 66, you know, he is a shared trauma of, like, a parental figure being killed and feeling alone.
Or even just all the young Padawans were all taken from their families.
Yep.
So when he says, you know, you just got to forget about them, they're all, what did he called them?
Attachments.
Like, attachments.
And that's a big word that they use in the Jedi. And and there were 2 things in this conversation that were like big, like flags to me that this guy seems like he was trained. That was one of them when he used the word attachments. Like, that's the Jedi use it. And the other one was when he straight up quoted Qui-Gon.
He did. He quoted
When
Qui-Gon.
he
Your
said-
focus determines your reality.
Yeah. That like immediately I went, oh, that's a Jedi thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, it just seems to me like this isn't a guy who like found out he could use the Force and figure he's clearly got a more complicated backstory than that. I'm trying to think because like if that is the case, it's pretty amazing because it means he lasted as a pirate from Order 66 through the Inquisitor age, through the fall of the Empire as a Force user without getting caught. And that's pretty cool.
I think also what we've seen him use of the Force is very minimal, too.
Right.
Like, he didn't carry a lightsaber.
Right.
He didn't do all of these major Jedi things.
So the lightsaber thing, I mean, there is precedent in the expanded universe for, you know, during Order 66, many of them, even if they had a lightsaber, they wouldn't use them.
Right.
Because they don't want to attract that attention.
Yeah.
So if he was a Padawan, it's possible that happened, or else maybe Order 66 happened before he even made his lightsaber.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
so
he was all too eager to pick up that lightsaber at the end of the show.
he sure was, and it was very Jedi impressive move that he had there.
Yeah, it almost seemed like, I don't know, years of like again, it could have been like years of hiding who I actually am. Let's do
then
this.
Got it back. Yes.
Yep.
So then he has that conversation. Qui-Gon said the same thing. Then a pirate's lair is turned into a tourist spot now. So then they pull out of the pirate's lair, and it goes by many names.
Yeah,
and
Skull Rock or something.
Skull Rock,
like that.
yeah, all these,
Yeah.
and whatever Landis or
He's
whatever.
talking it up about the As soon as he mentioned the pools of acid too. By the way, I was like, all right, we're gonna see acid.
We're gonna see acid. Yeah. It just reminded me of growing up. I had a favorite Taco Bell that I went to. And now that I moved away, when I go back, that Taco Bell is now like a jewelry store.
Oh yeah,
and I'm like,
you look at that Taco Bell like,
yeah,
man,
yeah.
I had
It's
so
just,
many burritos there.
I did. I was like, oh, that's where I had my first taco.
Right.
And now like he's going, oh, this is the greatest. What the heck is going on?
And it's
like,
the best too because they're always still shaped like Taco Bells.
Uh-huh.
So it's like,
yeah.
you can't hide the fact.
You can't hide that it was a Taco Bell. No matter what the sign says,
Yep.
it's still an old Taco Bell.
Yep. So it's essentially this planet is an old Taco Bell.
This planet is an old Taco Bell.
Think about this planet like an old Taco Bell.
Yeah, that's right. A Taco Bell that's been replaced. He says that the elders, and then when they
The
come out in
elders.
Fallen Order. The pleasure yachts are similar to that you've seen in Fallen Order.
Yes.
And he says that the elders are Baratarts. Basically, he was saying they're brats.
Yes.
They're from Baratus. That's what it was. He said the elders are from Baratus. And then we see the mud pits, which is funny to me because when we were in the Dominican Republic, we went swimming in this waterfall, and then the guy says, oh, if you dig down, there's mud down there that's very healing to your skin. And of course, all of us stupid gringos were all like, yeah, that's a great idea. We're all putting mud on our face. And I'm like, would we put mud on our face if we were in the backyard of New Jersey?
Nope.
No. But
No, we
because
would
we're
not.
in the DR, we're like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. This mud and clay is whatever. So seeing that, it just made me laugh as well. I'm like, okay. You saw a lot of the wealthy species from the Canto Bay Casino in The Last Jedi.
Yep. They also specifically mentioned that the banking clan was in town.
The banking
and we
clan
saw
was in town?
mutants
Uh-huh.
Who essentially run the banking clan.
Yep. So a lot of that with and then I really enjoyed when they put the restraining bolt on
Yes.
on 33.
And every time he tried to,
Yeah.
he got a jolt.
He's like that won't work on me.
Yep.
So it was pretty funny. And then we did see they talk about the banking clan, but then we don't really see anything else about them later.
Yeah, I thought that would like lead to something different.
Yeah, so maybe in the next episode we'll find out a little bit more about the banking clan. Jod signs in under the name of Professor Omi Glorox, and then later on the security guard goes, of Scipito, and he was like, run. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you know who the Scipitos are,
No.
but they are they have a very long, skinny head.
Okay.
They're gray skin, very long, skinny head. The kids. Wait a minute. I need to find it. It's down later. Because then he runs into. All right, I'll find out more about him later. All right. Well, it's written in my notes somewhere later. But anyway, so we'll come back to that because we find out that there's. The reason why he says run is because he does not look like a Scipito at all.
He does not fit the type.
He is
Dark's
clearly
type.
not a Scipito.
Yeah.
So then he has a fun scene with the hotel host. He gives her the Old Republic credit, and he
Right.
goes, "Yeah, you can find a room for me."
Yep.
And then she goes, "And what about the elders?" And now this is where like they're making the kids out to be like 8, 7, 8.
Right. Yeah, they're
like
being
completely
really silly, yeah.
uncontrollable, silly in the background, and he was like, and for them, and he's giving her another bribe. And then his friend comes over, and she Pickett
Pickett?
Pickett.
How's it spelled?
I spelled it wrong. I just typed it in real fast. But Pickett, she sees John and approaches because he almost killed her for her bounty. And so then they have a whole big conversation. Do you know who she is?
I don't.
She is the voice of Merida.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know
Yeah,
that.
so she's the voice of Merida. She was also in Boardwalk Empire. I don't know
Okay.
if you watched that
I did not.
series
My
on
father likes it a
HBO.
lot.
Yeah, so she's the voice of Merida. She could be an Arcanian or a way seeker from the High Republic area. And then after she runs into Jod then gives all of his credits to the host and is like, I want the best room. I'm spending all your money. I don't even care. Bribe. Get me into the biggest room, whatever. So then she does. And then Jod's like panicking.
Yep.
And the kids aren't picking up on this at all.
No, they're in the mini bar.
They're in the mini bar.
Pilfering the macadamia
They're
nuts.
jumping up and down on the bed. They're acting like really. And I get it. Maybe like these kids have now, we'll say it's been weeks.
Sure.
At this point that they've been like on this ship. And even Win in the beginning was like, I thought this was going to be fun. And it's not. It's dark and scary. I want to go home. So for like a moment, maybe the kids are like, oh my God, this is so much fun. But I still think that they were making them a little too immature.
Yeah. I mean, I think the whole thing is kind of like a metaphor for growing up. Like every kid thinks that they want to grow up. And then they grow up and they realize, oh, this is not.
I should have stayed a kid.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like this is. They think you grow up and you just get to do what you want, but you grow up and you can do things you want, but then it comes with all this other stuff. It comes with
all this other stuff.
And so to me, it feels just kind of like there were several times throughout the episode where they're kind of emphasizing that, where this wasn't what I thought it was going to be, and I don't know. It is. This has happened a couple times in this series where it does seem like they're laying it on a little thick.
Yes,
you know what I mean, where it's like. They want to get a point across, and to do it, they're a little heavy-handed.
A little heavy-handed with it, yeah. So that was the only thing that I didn't like about this episode was how, at times, they made the kids super immature.
Sure.
And then Pocket goes back to her room, and she's calling in the bounty to Wolfman Jack.
Yes.
And saying, hey, I don't know what you call him, but this is what I called him. And they went through like
all the different names.
All his aliases. And she's like, you call him what you want,
Star-Lord.
Pay me Star-Lord. It's a code name? What did they call
it? Something like
that. So then the kids are out on the search for the hidden cave. John gets stopped as he asks, this is it. There's a specific looking creature from the banking clan, and John looks nothing like them. They have a long skinny head. Darth Plagueis.
Oh, that's immune.
Immune is immune if you saw the Acolyte. The Munes are from Scipido.
Oh.
So that's where it all comes into handy.
I probably should have known that. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yes.
So yeah, Munes, he definitely does not look like immune.
Does not look like immune, no. So that's when he's like, oh, okay, we're out of here.
Yep.
And then once again, they did a pretty good job of hiding it, but anytime anybody runs on the volume, it's just so cheesy because
they get to run 12 feet and then
and then they have to stop and then they have to change the angle and then do it again and whatever. They're doing a good job of making it look better, but even still, it's like, ugh. Then the other kids, they find a Cathalops.
So that's his name. It's
okay.
It's not the type of creature
that he is.
I don't think there is so far. I think it's new. I tried to look it up.
Okay.
To see if it's something we've seen. No, it is very reminiscent of Cthulhu, which is like what's the guy, the Cthulhu guy?
Is he also from Star Wars?
No, Cthulhu is like a legendary monster.
Oh, okay.
H.P. Lovecraft. When the whole thing with Cthulhu is like he's like this malevolent force that turns people mad and stuff like that.
Okay.
But he's like a flying, like a floating octopus thing with all these tentacles.
Yeah, and he definitely had a lot of tentacles.
Yeah, so it seems like it's a play off that.
Okay.
So it's interesting that they introduce him as like this kind of malevolent thing, and then it turns out he just wants to hang
He
out.
just
and
wants
hear,
to hang out
hear
and
a
hear
good
stories.
story.
Yeah, tell me a good story.
Yeah, and he's like this enormous,
yeah.
weird looking, like scary looking thing, and he's just like, "Hey guys, how can I help you?"
Hey, oh yes,
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah,
you know?
he was like, yeah, don't trust him at all.
That guy smells like lies.
It smells like lies. He was funny because it made me think, also kind of like similar to Monsters Inc., where in Monster World universe, whatever they call it, like the monsters are drastically different sizes than humans are all similarly in size. So, like, how did he fit through the doorway? Because he was so big, you know, like things like that. Like,
although I don't know, have you ever seen an octopus fit through these tiny?
Oh,
little
octopuses,
spots?
yeah.
So,
I mean,
like,
they're very bendy. And
he was very octo-like.
He
so
was
maybe-
very octo-like. So
can
maybe he
fit
can
through those
just
doors.
slither through and just maybe he has no bones on
He
the inside
reminded
like an
me
octopus.
of Wilford Brimley. 'Cause
He
kinda
did
had
look like with that
that
mustache. He did. That's really funny. Speaking of, did we talk about how old Wilford Brimley was when he did Cocoon?
No, I don't think so.
You saw? Did you see Cocoon?
I mean, I have in the past.
You know,
for
it's
sure.
it's the old people who get, you know, when the aliens come down and blah blah blah, all that
Sure.
good stuff. He was like 45 in that.
Well, it's like I always think about Maggie Smith when she played Granny Wendy in Hook in like 1991, and she was probably 50.
Yeah.
You know, and she lived to be like 90 whatever, and she died like 2 years ago.
Right.
As long as I have known her, as long as I've been alive, she's been
Old.
a granny.
Yeah.
You know, like, but
Yeah.
she wasn't. So yeah, I guess there's just some actors.
Yeah, Brad Pitt is older now than Wilford Brimley was when he filmed Cocoon.
Wow.
And just to tell you the difference between
Yeah.
how people aged in the 80s versus how
today.
they're aging now.
Oh yeah. Well, everyone was taking Quaaludes in the 80s. That's how
They
it
were.
goes.
Yeah, they just aged them so much.
Yeah.
So he then enjoyed their story so much. He knew that the secret was through this door, and he broke the door for them.
Yep.
And the next scene I liked, it made me question what happened next, because he then also let them, carried them down that pit. If you notice, the next scene, they're looking up this giant hole.
And he's looking down at them.
He's looking down at them, and you
Bye,
see his
buddy.
one
Hope you find
pentacle.
your dad.
Right, and I'm like, oh. But then later on, the pirates are right behind them.
So did he help them?
Did he help them?
Or did
they kill him?
Oh, that made me sad.
I hope not. Yeah, so
I'll be mad at Urkel if he
I know,
killed
because
Collops.
He better not have. So yeah, so that
Because Urkel straight up killed someone in this episode.
he did. He shot him right in the stomach, and then the guy got somehow sucked up. I was very confused about that.
Yeah, so we get.
I think it was one of the booby traps.
It was, yeah. We get several booby traps throughout this episode. All again very Indiana Jones esque
and Goonies-esque.
and
Yes,
Goonies-esque.
yes.
But that one confused me because they were very clear. Like this, there's like an anti-gravity field and it'll pull you up into the spikes.
Right.
And just about every booby trap we saw had spikes.
Yes.
And then at the end of the episode, our buddy Wim decides, hey, I'm going to hit this thing and make us go down this booby trap.
Which probably has spikes
you
down
would
at the
think
bottom.
there'd be
Yeah.
spikes, right?
Unless they looked down it when Neil.
When he hit it the first time.
Yeah, when Neil almost fell into it. Maybe they saw what was down. I don't know, because
Just seems like it'd be a very convenient
yeah.
that every other booby
Now
trap
maybe
has
it's going
spikes
to
in
be the Goonies slide next.
it. Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, and then a giant rock's going to be following them as they're on the sled, and because from Indiana Jones, the
Sure.
boulders coming.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be a great scene where you can make a whole video game just out of that one scene. So then they go into the cave. Then they get to the acid also. There's, like you said, a bunch of the booby traps. Then we get to the acid, which is very interesting because it was a very good pirate riddle.
Right. Yeah.
Put in
again a very one-eyed, but like they're playing the chord on the organ
do
sort of
do
thing.
do yeah. And it was like whatever you need to sacrifice your most valuable whatever.
Right, and this is where we get the title of the episode.
Yes, and he says, a person who's going, and he says, you don't know. There's a lot you need to learn about pirates right here. Bam, dun dun dun.
Yep.
Because pirates don't care about people; they care about their booty.
Yep.
Hey now,
Djibouti.
Djibouti
The capital of Djibouti.
is
Djibouti.
Djibouti. There you So then, in a very dramatic, Jedi move, Jude picks up the one credit in his hand. It has it floating above his hand, and then force pushes it out into the middle of the acid, and the gold goes, oh, that's the switch, and turns it down.
And as they're walking down into it, I'm thinking, yeah, all the acid's gone, but like I'm sure there's still acid on the floor.
Yeah,
that you're stepping on now, that is going to eat its
now
way
it doesn't
through the
hurt.
soles of your shoes.
It doesn't hurt now, so I don't know, but semantics. So then they go into the treasure room, and there's a lot of gold.
Yeah, so this was very Cave of Wonders, Aladdin, like.
Yes.
And only touch the lamp.
Only touch the lamp, that's right.
Or else like in Harry Potter when they went into Bellatrix Lestrange's vault, and anytime they touched something, it duplicated and turned hot.
Yes.
So yeah, it gave a lot of different vibes here.
I was really hoping people were going to be doing a breakdown of all the stuff that was in there, because I wanted to see the Indiana Jones arc. What's
the arc of the Holy Grail?
Holy Grail. I wanted to see like other Star Wars things, like when we saw what movie? It was the Andor. In Andor, in the shop.
Oh yeah.
There were all kinds of things. There was the Beskar armor over here, and there was this, and there was that, and there were all these like Star Wars artifact things in there, and I was really hoping to see some of that, but I guess because this time that he was in charge, or that he was ruling the place, was before, or like right around, it was before the Clone Wars,
right.
So maybe there's stuff in there from the High Republic era that we don't know.
So the lightsaber looks very High Republic-ish.
Yes.
It's very kind of flashy looking.
Very flashy. There's gold and silver, very shiny.
Yeah, so that, and they are kind of leaning into High Republic stuff right now, especially since they're almost out of the High Republic era in the books. Like they're almost done with that. So I don't know where they're going next, but they are trying, it seems like in the video games and the shows, to use a lot more of the stuff. So it would not shock me if there was a lot of High Republic, artifacts and stuff like that.
Sure.
So yeah, I agree. I was hoping to see, like, when I went on, I was hoping, did you notice this was actually, but like there wasn't.
Yeah, there wasn't any of that stuff, which is a little disappointing. But going back to the don't touch anything, then he goes and says, look for something that's out of place. Something that it blends in that could not be the right thing. And, of course, leave it to the fat kid to look at the food.
The food, yeah.
He finds the food, and he goes...
Look at this succulent piece of chicken. It looks delicious. Everything else is rotten.
Everything else is rotten, but not this. So then when he touches it, of course, the seat that he's leaning on collapses at first.
Right.
And luckily everybody is there, not standing on the trapdoor to save him.
And then very convenient.
Very convenient. And they go, oh, okay.
Call that plot armor.
Plot armor. And then the other thing that, going back to the captain, Ryan Airy thinks it could be Nar Shaddaa. The pirates could be from Nihilus. Nihilus from the High Republic. Okay. Weren't they the bad guys? The Nihilus?
Oh, the Nile.
The Niles.
The Nile.
The Nile.
Okay.
So he thinks that the pirates could be the Nile from the High Republic era.
I could see that too. Yeah.
After we find out that the Nile get beaten, even though we're not into that in the books yet, but there was another thing that had already said that they got beaten.
Yeah, I mean, we know they get beaten. We don't know how it happens yet.
So he thinks that they could be a splinter cell off of them, who then decided we're just going to be pirates now. Instead of trying to take over the whole galaxy, we'll just be pirates. And
I could see that for sure. That would be interesting.
Their symbols, the scratchy symbol that he did is very similar to the scratchy symbol of the Nile.
Like a lightning bolt for the Nile, right?
Yeah. So it's like a take on that. So that makes a lot of sense. And the mask in the room. Okay, so then... Okay, that's where he said that he thinks that the pirate is 33. And then they do talk about the pirate that you can't see his face. does give us now what is at Adden.
Right. It's a Old Republic mint.
It's an Old Republic mint to make money. So that's where all the treasure is the fact that they're just printing money for you. So you can go take all of this money, especially these High Republic credits. So they're still printing High Republic money now, even though the High Republic era is done. Why? What's happening with it?
Right. Where's it going?
And like, is the supervisor? Does the supervisor know? Like, hey, 1904 pennies are really, really hard to come by and very expensive. So if you keep making me a whole bunch of 1904 pennies, I can sell them for thousands of dollars each.
Maybe.
So I don't know.
Sure sounds like something a pirate would do.
Or matey, sure does. So then at the very end, this is when Jude does his big heel turn, which we've been waiting for the whole time and anticipating. And he finally says, I want to challenge the captain for the captainship.
Yeah,
whatever it is.
Pirate code.
Pirate code says, yep. And he says, just
yield. Just say
yield. Just say yield and we'll be done.
And this is where, like, I don't know. Kind of a heel turn, but I think that, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I'm not sure. But to me, it seems to me like he needs to be able to do, like, in order to do what he needs to do now, he can't have these kids, like, second guessing him every step.
Right.
And so, I mean, if he was really like that guy, he would have done that and then killed the kids.
Yeah.
But he's like got a soft. So my thought is like, yeah, he's still out for himself, but I don't know that it's a complete heel turn. They're gonna see, the kids are gonna feel betrayed, obviously.
Yeah, and even when he says, take them into custody,
right?
He was gonna take them back onto ship.
Yeah.
But instead of letting them roam around the ship, they were gonna like put them in a jail on the ship.
He's gonna be grounded.
They were gonna be grounded.
Stay in your room.
Yeah. So he was still making his way back to Adden. He probably was just going to use them as ransom instead of, whatever. So interesting that, and the fact that they didn't.
And now they're all impaled on spikes.
Right. That they didn't pick up on that, because then Wim says, oh, we are all coincidentally hiding right here on this trap door that we just 5 minutes before saw collapse underneath this.
Yeah, which, by the way, we skipped over the absolute best part of the episode.
Oh, my gosh.
Which I totally saw as it was about to happen. I was like, wait a minute. That doesn't look like the top of the lightsaber.
No, and so Fern breaks away or whatever, and she swings
like
some kind of mace at him.
He uses the force.
A couple times to stop it. He ducks away because she's 11 and he's 50.
But his command over the force there seemed pretty good. Like it wasn't like he like grabbed it and he chucked it.
And he chucked it. He was moved
so,
it.
Like,
yeah,
it wasn't. It's not like he's just kind. So like he does have some facilities.
And he also, going back a little bit before that, he also said to 33, "You have control over the facility now." And he said yes. And he goes, "Okay, turn the acid back on."
Yeah.
And you heard everybody say, "We're going to get you."
Yeah.
But I have a feeling they're not going to get him. I think they're just skeletons at this point.
Well, some of them, I'm sure we're going to see some of them like, with burn marks or something. But I mean, for sure, they didn't kill Urkel off screen.
Right. Yeah. Like if Urkel's going to die, he's going to die on screen. Yeah. So I guess they were just like, some of them were able to fight their way back up the steps and get away from the acid. Because that's when he did say, I need to find another way out of here. So I guess he didn't kill everybody quickly. It just rose up from the bottom. They were able to get away. But, so then Wim, so she tries to fight him off. He uses the force. He's got his giant, big, rusty blade up against her, which, by the way, looked like if he were to try to cut her head off, he was going into his arm also. That blade was very large.
Yep.
But, that's just me. And then nobody else sticks up for him. Wim grabs the lightsaber, is holding it.
He has his big heroic moment.
Even the music changes.
He's like, this is not one of your stories.
Yeah, he's like, this, don't do it. And it would have been perfect for him to say, you'll shoot your eye out, kid. Yep. And then he turns it on, and it's upside down.
It's like it made me laugh out loud. It
Oh,
was
yes.
hysterical. But it's also like when I stopped and thought about it, it's kind of tragic because like this kid has been wanting nothing but to like help,
To be the
and
hero.
to be the hero.
Yes.
and he has his moment and he completely messes it
Yeah,
up.
and this is
Then
twice.
and then he has to not only does he mess it, he has to cower.
Right.
Like, but he does kind of get them out of it a second. But like, again, that's a moment. You know, you have these.
He does. There's a little redemption arc there at the end when he does hit the thing to
Yes.
get them out of it.
But you know, the guy is like in his brain. You know, all those. That's a core memory.
Oh, that
was
has
just
been burned
created.
in there. He's going to remember
he's gonna
that
be 80
forever.
years old,
Yeah.
remembering when he lit the damn lightsaber upside down.
Even if we find out that he does have force powers and does become a Jedi and is the
Doesn't
next
matter.
Kanan, he's always going to remember
Doesn't matter.
that time when he lit the lightsaber upside down.
He's going to be about to become one with the Force
Yep.
on his deathbed. He's going to.
They did do a really cool thing as the lightsaber was bouncing all over the place. You saw burn marks
Yes.
in the floor, and even after the blade closed and went out, the scorched concrete was still there.
Yep.
And when the hilt shimmied a little bit before it went into Jod's hand, you saw the scorched concrete. Have you ever seen when power lines have gone down and have hit a sidewalk?
No.
Oh my God! It happened in my neighborhood. A lightning bolt hit a not a generator, whatever the big boxes are at the top of the telephone poles.
Transformer.
Yes, hit a transformer. Power line was flapping all over the place.
It's dangerous as hell.
Very dangerous. It melted concrete.
Jeez.
Like, it was crazy. We went walking by it days later, and the concrete was melted. It was nuts. I was like, oh my gosh. So, yeah, so they did a good job of making it look like that, because that's what it looked like on the sidewalk there.
Well, do you know what a transformer does? I didn't know until recently.
I know. I just
So-
know that it's like it's holding all the electricity
Yeah,
of some
so-
sort in there.
I had no idea. I actually looked it up. I thought it was really interesting. Like all the wires
Right.
on the telephone poles are extremely high voltage.
Yes.
The transformer pulls that voltage down
Okay.
to send it into your house, so it's the voltage you
It's
need.
the voltage you need for your house.
It actually is what makes the voltage go down. So if the transformer gets blown and you got that live wire, that is
Yeah.
so much voltage.
That's all that high voltage bouncing around
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
That's
very
crazy.
scary. It was very scary, very crazy. So then, yep, the kids hit the button, fall down into the trap. John gives a little look like, oh, come on. Like, why did you do that? You didn't need to do that, whatever. And then he goes, all right. And he picks up the lightsaber, and you hear it turn on as the credits roll.
Yep.
Very good ending, because
Absolutely.
now you can visualize while the credits are going to him holding it, spinning it around a little bit, being like, yes, this, turning it off and then putting it onto his belt on the other side of his fancy knife on one side and his lightsaber hilt on the other side. But now, obviously, he's going to have to get the kids. So he's going to, and he said to 33, we need to find another way out of here also.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling the opening scene for the next episode is going to be 33 going, that's the other way out.
Yep.
And then they're both going to have to jump down that hole or something like that after the kids.
I'm also getting strong like Empire Strikes Back vibes where Luke goes down the shaft and like lands on the antenna at the bottom of Cloud City.
Oh, right, okay.
And then the Millennium Falcon has to pick them
Has
up.
to pick them up.
So it's like I'm just picturing 4 kids holding onto each other, hanging off an antenna,
Hanging-
and then him just flying up underneath them. Like, all right,
All
we gotta
let's
do it
go,
this
kid.
way, I guess.
Yeah, well, get on.
Yeah.
Get on the ship.
We had to do it this way.
You had to do it this way.
I was gonna have him just put you in your room.
Right, but now we got to do this.
Yep.
So that's very interesting. So, yeah, so it was a great episode. I had a lot of fun watching it. I watched it, like I said, 3 times.
That was episode 5.
That was episode 5.
We have 3 more.
We have 3 more.
This is one that I really hope gets renewed for a second season.
Yeah.
I like what they're able to do with this. Again, there's no preconceived notions about what it's supposed to be. There's no like expectations of like, oh, I need to see this person or that person. And they're actually doing a good job at making it a fun Star Wars adventure. They're not bogging it down with crappy like writing.
Right.
I
And
don't know.
even the kids are doing a very good job.
And Jude Law is great. Like,
Yeah.
you see a big, huge name like Jude Law. I thought there's a chance this guy kind of phones it in for this. You know what I mean? Because so many of these projects I feel like have not done well.
Yeah.
But like he's hysterical. He's doing a really good job, and I don't know. I hope they continue with it.
I was watching the Christopher Reeve story,
Mm-hmm.
and Superman 1. I forget who his dad is. Marlon Brando.
Yes.
Brando was his dad.
Yep.
They asked him, "What did you think of working with Brando?" And he said, yeah, he phoned it in. He didn't want to be there. He
Yep.
got paid $2 million, and he just didn't even care about being there.
Yeah, Brando didn't seem like the nicest dude on the planet.
But I thought it was really funny because Christopher Reeves had done nothing before this
Right.
movie, and now suddenly was like the it man, and he's like bashing Brando. But I was just like, okay, but hey, if you're gonna call it in and somebody else winds up becoming the it man, they're gonna call you out on it,
Yep.
and that's what happened. So
Yep.
yeah, so Jude Law definitely is not calling it in. He's having a good time. He's doing a great performance. I'm
Yep.
enjoying his performance. I'm enjoying the kids' performance. I do want the show to be renewed, but I'm also trying to figure out where it would go in season 2. Like, are they like half of the
Yeah,
fun?
right now they're not setting it up by the looks of it. I mean, I have no idea what's going to happen.
Right? Yeah.
Honestly, so I don't know where we're going to get to, and how that will like set up for sequels. But I don't know. It just this formula I like. The problem with it, I feel like, is you're dealing with child actors, and child actors get
Right.
older.
Yeah, and like they just finally finished Stranger Things season 5.
And this is the last one, right?
It's the last one. Apparently, every single episode is 2 hours long because they have so much story to tell.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And the kids already are in their 30s now,
Yeah.
and they're still trying to play like high schoolers. So
Yep.
they're like, all right, we need to finish this now.
Yep.
So, yeah, like that's the other problem is if you're gonna have the kids again, you know, if it takes 3 years in between, now suddenly the kids go from 11 to 15. Like, are you going to build in that time jump?
Right.
You know, and if they're all just on at in that time, like how is that going to work or whatever? So
And Disney does not have a good track record about turnaround time on new seasons.
no, not even a little bit. So
When was the last season of The Mandalorian?
well, that's because they then decide they're going to do this movie,
Yeah.
and you know whatever, taking their time with that. But even that, it was like a year and a half, 2 years in between
Seasons,
the
yeah.
first 3 seasons.
Remember, like when cable was a thing, and every year you'd get a new season. Or
So-
something? Like, it was-
Trey was like watching Abbott Elementary.
sure.
Very funny show.
I have a
Great
hard
show.
time watching it.
Really?
My
Because
wife
it's
wants me to watch it. I watch it, and I feel stressed out.
too
It's
realistic.
like work.
So season 1, the first 2 or 3 episodes, I felt that way
That's about as
because
far as I made it in, to be
I taught in North Philly
fair. Okay.
for 3 years at a charter school in North Philly.
I taught in Baton Rouge.
Okay, so yeah, so it's a similar demographic, and I was like, no, I was like, this reminds me too much of teaching at the charter school.
Sure.
They start to get more into the funnier stuff
Okay.
and less into the teaching stuff. There's just a lot more interaction between the teachers and the principal and things
Okay.
like that, and less interaction in the classrooms where kids are acting up in the classrooms and stuff like that.
Right.
The kids are very well behaved, comparative even to our kids.
Yeah.
Like, I have kids in my class that are not nearly as behaved as the kids are on this show. So,
Good.
yeah. So if you
Sometimes
can,
reality is crazier than fiction.
yeah, than fiction. So you get past that pretty quickly.
All right, I'll have to try and give it.
So you have to try and give it another shot. But Trey was saying the same thing. He's like, oh my gosh, I don't know if they're on their 3rd or 4th season already. But, you know, network television, 35 episodes like The Office, 35 episodes a season. They have off for the summer months, and then they're back in it again in September, 35. he's like, oh my gosh, they have so many, and I'm like, yeah, this is
the way it
what
used to be.
television used to be.
Yeah.
This it wasn't
before streaming.
Yeah, it wasn't 10 episodes every 2 years. It
Yep.
was this is what it was. So
You gotta like. We watch Frasier a lot in my
Okay.
house. There's 11 seasons.
Yeah.
and each one is 25 episodes.
Yeah.
like it's crazy. There's
It's crazy.
hundreds of episodes of Frasier.
even like we keep rewatching Bob's Burgers.
Sure.
And there's 16 seasons of Bob's Burgers
it's
so
been out
far.
for a while.
And there's 25 to 30 episodes each season. Every once in a while there's like a shorter season, but
Right.
still like same thing. Like you have endless episodes to keep rewatching, and by the time you get all the way through it, you're like, oh, I'll just watch season 3 again because you forgot it because it was 160 episodes ago.
Yep.
You know, where this, 5 seasons is only 40 episodes.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, so that's a downfall to streaming, but that's every streaming network is the same thing. They're
Yep.
just doing 10 episode seasons. And
Well, I mean, it's this weird cycle that we've gotten ourselves into as a society where it's like cable became too expensive, so we got Netflix,
right.
and Netflix had everything, but then other companies started the streaming thing, and you needed Netflix and Hulu and Peacock and Prime
And Max.
And so like you switched to streaming to save money because it was way cheaper, and now you have all these
Right.
streaming services, and it's more expensive.
It's more expensive. And
So,
Disney Plus has quadrupled since
Yeah.
I don't know what 5 times, 6 times
aside
over.
from that, and then now all of them are getting on the Netflix train of cracking down on you can only have so many.
Yeah.
So like the big thing that caused streaming was piracy.
Yeah.
People are pirating our thing. How can we combat that? So now they have this, and now we're to the point now where it's like, well, why are we not going to just pirate again?
Yeah.
Right? Piracy, like we're back to the point where it like setting up a VPN and downloading a whole bunch of seasons and setting up a private network at home. Why wouldn't I just do that instead of paying, $15 times 8?
8. Yeah. And like every one of the streaming networks has one show.
Yeah.
One show that you like.
Thankfully with Vanjie, with my daughter, is like Disney we need it.
Yeah.
And Disney comes with and that's another thing that is like rampant is like, hey, if you have AT&T, you also get this, that, and the other. So like we get AT&T and Max through Max and Disney Plus and Hulu through AT&T.
Okay, yeah.
But thankfully, we have Vanjie, so we get a lot of use out of Disney.
Right.
But like we had realized like, why are we paying for Paramount Plus?
I was about to cancel Paramount Plus.
We did.
And then Trey was like, oh, I'm watching Survivor. And I'm like,
so now you're paying that money for Survivor.
I'm paying that money for Survivor.
Yep.
Yeah. Because Survivor or Paramount Plus used to have like the different challenge shows. We like the challenge. MTV's the challenge.
Sure.
It's a reality game show, Survivor thing type game. But for the last 4 seasons have only been on MTV.
Yeah.
So it's like I've been paying for Paramount Plus for the past year and a half, waiting for one of these challenge shows to come on Paramount Plus, and they're not coming on Paramount Plus. So why am I still paying for it? Now Trey's just watching Survivor, so I'm paying for just Survivor. And Apple Plus, same thing. Ted Lasso, amazing show. Was watching that, loved it. It's over. Now I'm watching Shrinking, amazing show. It's, my opinion, the best television right now. So if you haven't watched it, if you don't have Apple TV Plus, it's a shame because you're missing out on the greatest television show of 2024, in my opinion. But it's the only thing I watch on there.
Yeah.
So I'm paying $15 a month to watch one show.
Yep.
So
and then when that show's over, do you remember to cancel it?
No, not even
You're
a
just
little
like,
bit.
oh,
I'm like, all right.
then like a year goes by and you go, oh right, I've been paying for this.
I've been paying for this. Yeah. Let me see what's on there now, and I'm trying to find one show to watch on so that I can justify
paying
$15 a month.
I guess what we're trying to say is Bantha Milk Podcast supports piracy.
We sure do. If
we
you
are
have,
all for taking money away from large
that's right.
corporations.
You want to share your Apple TV account with us? Send us your email address and password so we can sign into your account as well, please. Thank you very much.
Or if you're a seater on the Pirate Bay, whatever it is now. You ever go on the Pirate Bay?
No.
No, I have not.
No,
Yeah. So for those of you who BitTorrent out there still.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that is the Piracy Bay. The Pirate Bay.
Is that
it's called.
for TV now instead of
Well, it's
songs?
for everything.
For everything?
It's
okay.
for like if you want to download movies, songs, TV, you can download. But like you got to be careful. I specifically recall I downloaded 30 Rock,
Okay.
and then I got a letter
From NBC?
from Comcast
From Comcast?
saying, "Hey, we saw you downloaded 30 Rock. Don't do that."
Don't do that.
And I was like, "Oh, all right,
Okay.
But like, I think part of the problem was as soon as you download it, like in this program, you automatically become a seeder, so like
Okay.
other people can download it. And so I think I accidentally was seeding it to other people.
Sure.
and,
So
like,
they
it
were
picked up
like,
on that.
"Oh, you are sharing it now.
Yes.
You're not just a receiver, but you're sharing
Yep.
it, and we don't want you sharing. You're not allowed to do that."
Yep." And I definitely don't want to get sued by NBC Universal.
No,
so.
because they have just a
They're better lawyers.
shade more money
better
than you,
lawyers than
and
I
a
do.
couple better lawyers than you. Yes.
Anyway, great
Anywho,
episode
yes.
of Skeleton Crew. Best of the season so far. Best of the
Best
series
of the
so
series
far, I
so
would say.
far. Best of the season so far.
We got 3 episodes left in our season.
Yep.
for
And
us
of
to
course,
wrap
the
all
next
stuff
one
up.
comes out on New Year's Day,
That's January 1st for
January
those of you counting at
1st.
home.
So you don't know. So we'll be back at work on the 2nd, and then probably. Do you want to try and shoot for that Friday the 3rd again?
We might as well.
We might as well keep doing these on Friday nights.
Yeah. All right. So look for us next Friday night to break down episode 6.
Episode 6.
Make sure to have your cat or dog spayed or neutered.
That's right.
And from all of us here at Bantha Milk Podcast headquarters, we have spoken.
We have spoken.
That was nice.